telling us the importance of not paying attention to what is obvious, but the things that could be possibilities. We should inculcate the habit of paying attention to what is possible, possibilities, not what is obvious. And I've also mentioned that the power of transformation doesn't begin at the point of manifestation. The power of transformation begins at the point where the mind is persuaded. It is at the point where the mind is persuaded that the power of transformation begins. So we don't just wait until things are working the way we want them before we believe that something is happening. It is when we believe beyond reasonable doubt that such a thing is real and possible for us. And then from there, our transformation begins. I want to give us a conversation. I want us to have a conversation, a story that I read. You know that the secret of great people is in their stories. So when you pay attention to people's stories, no matter where you find those stories, if you pay attention, very, very good attention to their stories, you begin to discover that their secrets are there. In the book of Exodus, there is a story there. When we read from verse 6, maybe through to 14, and it says, and Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all the generation, and all that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly. The children of Israel, they were fruitful and they increased abundantly, and they multiplied, and they waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them. Look at the qualifiers. These people were fruitful. These people increased abundantly. They multiplied. They waxed exceeding mighty. And the land was filled with them. It's not that they were few. They were many. They were mighty. They were great people. The people that have potentials and actual, they had a lot speaking for them. But something happened in the midst of their existence, that the same people that were great, fruitful, mighty, became slaves. How did this thing happen? In fact, the confession of Pharaoh is my interest. In verse 9, Pharaoh said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. He says, see, the people of the children of Israel, they are more and they are mightier than we. Part of the conversation is, the children of Israel, were they aware of their capability? Were they aware of their value? Were they aware of their might? What happened? And then if you go down, you see that these same people that were more and mightier were conquered by those that perceive them to be more and mightier. So what happened? So I want us to look at, let's have a conversation around that. What happened? Many of us, the things we are afraid of, you don't know that those things are afraid of you. Some things we are struggling with right now, you don't know that those things are afraid of you. But I will just narrow this conversation to the place of being strategic thinking. strategy will always eat operation for lunch. People are consumed with activities. They just want to be jumping up and down, running up and down, carrying one function or the other. But they don't sit down in the place of strategy. They don't think. Now, an individual came, a leader came up, and then did analysis. So, for you to be strategic, you must be an analyst. You must learn to pay attention to records, especially past records and results. From time to time, we need to sit down and take stock. Take stock. Don't just wake up every day and you are busy. From morning till night, you're busy. Every now and again, you are busy. No time to take stock. So a leader arose and took stock. And then in the course of taking stock, it was obvious that these people are mightier than we. But it was not so from the beginning. These people were our guests. They were few in number. The opportunity they had were the few we gave to them. But today, they are everywhere. From what I have seen, he now made a projection into the future. So when you are trying to be strategic, you must also consider future. Not just what is obvious. We keep saying this thing. We don't pay attention to the obvious. To be strategic, you will take account of the past, take account of the present, and also make arrangements for the future. But unfortunately, people are living for today. If you tell them to talk about tomorrow, they say, don't worry, we have not finished living today. No. And he said, from what I have seen, if this thing continue, there is a big problem. I see a big problem. And then from that point, he termed the people, he changed the identity from welcome guests to terrorists. Yes, that was what he did. In summary, that was what he did. Change them from welcome guests, because as long as people were seeing them as people that are welcome, they don't perceive any danger. But himself made them to see the danger. So, in place of strategic thinking is a place where somebody begin to lead his team or group, organization in a way that will advance their cause. So that is why I called what he did strategic thinking and then strategic planning. A group of people that he's leading, he thought about tomorrow, how to put them in a place of advantage in the future. Because where they were not at a position of advantage. So each and every one of us should be strategic in our thinking. Today, in the world and in our country, look at what is happening. If we are not strategic, if we don't go back to the place of strategy, let me tell you also, the people that have kept the economy the way it is, they are fewer in number than we are. People that have enslaved the rest of the population, they are smaller than we are. I can tell you for free. Some people have sat down and then have analyzed that with what is going, if we continue like this, we will have no job. We will have no business. You know the people I'm talking about. Like Pharaoh did, he said, let us deal wisely. Let us be strategic. And you know very well that even poverty now has been weaponized. It's a strategy. Poverty is a weapon. And as long as the people are kept poor, they will not be able to challenge whatever you are doing. The other day, some people in one part of the state queued up for a loaf of bread of 100 naira. Human beings. People are being reduced to that. Now, somebody that is hungry, somebody that can queue up for a loaf of bread of 100 naira, what do you think the person will be thinking if it's not food to eat? But we are in number. How many people has held the economy in ransom? How many people? We are more in number. We are more intelligent. We are more powerful. But they are more strategic because we are not thinking. And because they are more strategic, we now fight ourselves. They pitch us against ourselves. They give us a narrative. They want us to, the conversation we have now is the one that they put up. And they are strategic. They divide us along religious line. They divide us along ethnic line. They divide us along political line. All of these things are strategy. They hop from one party to the other. They are strategic. And they are all friends. We fight ourselves on the streets. Days of election will come. We fight ourselves. Because some group of people have sat down and have observed that if nothing is done, we may not have anybody to control. Let us deal wisely. And they are dealing with us wisely. The essence of this conversation is to take us back to the place of strategy. Let us think. How did this number of people that were doing very well, how did they become slave? How did they become slave? Because everybody was busy and they gave them work. They designed tax masters over them and gave them job to do. And they were working. They were busy, working and not thinking. The way out of the quagmire we have found ourselves is to go back to the place where we should be thinking. Strategy will always eat operation for lunch. We need to focus on the future. If things continue the way they are, what kind of world are we going to have? Those that are in their 30s today, in the next 20 years, you will have children. What kind of country will they have? The point I just want to make is that let's think, how did we get here? How did we get here? We need to sit down and ask ourselves this question. If we don't sit down and ask this question, we continue to fight ourselves. The ones that are under bondage are the ones fighting themselves. And the ones that have kept the people in bondage are laughing, smiling, because it doesn't affect them. And because people are at survival mode, they are not thinking of any other thing apart from food to eat, house to live in, clothes to wear. The people, they were not strategic. And if we must come out of where we are, we need to become very, very strategic. How do we come out from here? It shouldn't be a public conversation anyway. But there is a way out. But the idea is, let's begin to think. And one way we will get to that point is, how did we get here? If we are able to find out how we get here, we can disrupt the system. We can disrupt the system. And you know how it happened. It came to pass that somebody that was fearless, that was willing to challenge the status quo, somebody came up that was willing. But the person was well prepared. I wouldn't want to talk much. We need to think. Somebody needs to challenge the status quo. That things should not continue the way they are. Nigeria is a great nation. Has so much potential. And how we have survived all this while tells a lot about our strength. But we need to be strategic. That's where I want to end this conversation today. Let's just bow down our heads and also ask ourselves this question.